CJ Campbell.
And I'm Ron Jackson.
Cerebral conversations on disability liberation and integration. Hello and welcome to Cerebral Conversations episode 12. This is Cerebral Conversations, conversations on disability liberation and integration. I'm CJ Campbell.
And I'm Ron Jackson.
Ron, you know what time it is?
It's time to get cerebral.
It's a little later than usual, but it's time. It's Cerebral Conversations time.
Woo!
Woo! So, we're going a little later because I'm about ready to head to LA tomorrow for Invisible Children's 4th Estate Leadership Conference.
Going out to Cali.
Yeah, I'm being a big deal. People are going to like me. Also, I just got an email that my flight is going to be tested for free Wi-Fi.
Wow.
That's right. And free TV on Dish Network, except I plan on writing instead.
Fancy.
So, other than that, I had a really awesome week. My best friend Jake came into town and we made mashed potato burritos, which is kind of it's a tradition I do when I have somebody come into my home. I make mashed potato burritos. And our good friend Spencer.
Yes, shout out to Spencer.
He got married. He got hitched to his wonderful wife, Amanda Jo.
Aloha.
Yes, he's currently in Hawaii. Maybe he'll run into our friend Jacoby.
Maybe he will.
Jacoby, find Spencer. So, why don't you tell me about your week?
My week was pretty cool because I went to see Smackdown with this guy over here.
Well, your pulsing hands won't really let you point.
With CJ.
Because you might be pointing to some guy off camera.
I could be.
We have just a guy that's like, yeah, that's right. I went to wrestling with him.
I could be.
That's right. We got to see WWE Smackdown that came to Rockford last night. What was your favorite match of the night?
My favorite match was the Daniel Bryan match, just because the crowd was just so excited for Daniel Bryan. And my favorite segment was the segment between Kane and the Wyatt family.
That was pretty sweet. I'm personally a big Daniel Bryan fan. It's like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are my two guys. And I'm a big fan of Daniel Bryan because not only does he not eat meat, but he has a beard.
A very well-established beard.
The beard is what gives him strength, in my opinion.
Yes.
Anything else going?
Not really. It's been a pretty chilled week.
If I may interject, I believe that you have started watching one of my favorite television shows.
Oh, yes, I did. I started watching Breaking Bad.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, CJ. I'm on season 3, so by Sunday I should be caught up to where the actual show is.
Yeah, because they're starting the last and final season on Sunday, correct?
Yes.
Gonna have to TiVo that.
AMC.
Alright, so we are continuing our conversation on
education and disability.
And we'll be talking about
the college years.
Higher education, higher learning.
Yes.
So, we both have had college experience. What was your college experience like?
My college experience was difficult because it was the first time in my life where I really didn't know what to do or what to expect. And it was honestly the first time I had to deal with PAs. So that in itself was awkward, on top of the educational aspect and the fact that, you have to ride around campus to get to class. It's not all in one building.
Yeah, that is an interesting challenge that I don't think a lot of crippled brothers and sisters are prepared for or even aware of. Is that transportation becomes a really big issue later in life.
Yes.
So, with your experience with PAs, was your initial experience, was that kind of a scary thing for you?
It was because I didn't know how this system should work. I didn't know what to have them do or what was expected of them and what was not. And because they were my peers, it was difficult to have a boss-employee relationship with them when necessary.
Yeah, I can imagine that because you were 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're just an 18-year-old kid and experiencing your first graspings at a liberated lifestyle and independent and integrated lifestyle. So that I had to. And were you given any preparation for that?
No, I wasn't. Like, the first night I got there, they handed me a list of PAs and told me to call them until I found someone to hire. But they didn't explain, like, the process or anything.
Hmm.
So it was difficult.
And you unfortunately weren't able to finish college
No,
in
I
the traditional
wasn't.
sense.
No, I wasn't because of family health reasons. My mother got sick and I needed to come home. So,
Yeah, and would you mind sharing that specific reason? Because I think it's pretty telling.
the reason I needed to come home was because my mother needed the money as my caretaker to help pay the bills since she could no longer work in full-time employment.
Which is kind of it brings in an interesting dichotomy where we have had a couple episodes where we shared some of our thoughts about the stigmas behind receiving help and some of the hurdles in that. They're the longer episodes, but I still think they're worth watching.
I would recommend them, yeah.
Absolutely. My college experience was similar and yet very different. I remember when I was about ready to graduate high school, and I saw my guidance counselor for pretty much the first time in 4 years, and we were going to have a discussion about what I was going to do after graduation. And I expected to come into the office and just have like this stack of brochures lined out, giving me all my options of what college is and all those things. And much to my surprise, I came in there and I saw a small stack of forms to get on SSI. And she started asking me questions about, to fill out those forms, and eventually I said, well, what about college? And she said, I don't really think college is something that you're going to be prepared for, and it usually doesn't work out, and it's much better for you to go on SSI. And I was shocked by that, and then so I was like, well, I didn't actually get on SSI the first time because most people do get denied their first time, and I took that as kind of a sign that I should never go on SSI, and I just decided to figure out college on my own. And I went, being that my dream was to become a pastor at the time, I went after Bible colleges and all those sorts of things. And I dealt with a lot of discrimination. I was flat out told by a very prestigious Bible college that one of the reasons that I wasn't going to get in was because they've had students with what they deem as disabilities, which was light and sound sensitivities, and it didn't work out, which had nothing to do with my experience. They had no experience with my abilities or how capable I was or where my comfort level was. Um, they just assumed. And I remember having to actually, the way that it was set up is I was doing my college visit there, and they, right off the bat, sat me down in an interview and just told me that these are the reasons why you're not going to be accepted. And then I had to take a tour all day. And it was kind of just like, and these are all the things that you don't get to experience.
That had to be harsh.
It was, and then I continued down the path and tried to get into other Bible colleges, and either I just couldn't afford it, or they didn't have accessible facilities and all those things. So I ended up going to an unaccredited pastoral college here in our local city of Rockford, and I found myself never wanting to ask for any sort of facilitation help or how to make things easier for me physically or any of those things, because I looked at getting into that school as it was kind of almost a gift to me, and I didn't want to screw it up. And I knew that my only shot at having any sort of fulfilling life was to have a job at the end of my 3-year tenure there, and I didn't want anyone to think I was weak, which kind of led me down some very unhealthy thought patterns and lifestyle choices that have, cost me a lot physically and mentally that I've had to work getting over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that our experience is all that uncommon among crippled brothers and sisters, and I'm sure our able-bodied brothers and sisters, looking back on maybe some times that they've seen how the school systems, whether they be higher education or primary education or somewhere in between, how they have treated crippled brothers and sisters.
From what I hear, our experiences are very similar to other crippled brothers and sisters. You're right.
Absolutely. Now, I know that I briefly talked about how financially higher education was a hurdle for me, which by no means is any means not hitting the able-bodied community just as much as it is our crippled brothers and sisters. But there's definitely some catch-22s with getting grants or loans, which you've experienced personally.
Yes. In my second attempt at higher education, I took out a bunch of grants and loans to attend the University of Phoenix without knowing that doing so could put me in jeopardy of losing my housing because of hard regulations.
Yeah, that's right. If you have any subsidized rent, which most crippled brothers and sisters do, for many different reasons, depending on how it's set up, if you're not careful, you can actually disqualify yourself for having your apartment. Also, another thing is just when you incur large amounts of debt, so statistics have shown that if you're a crippled brother or sister, you are probably going to make significantly less than even the average able-bodied college graduate. So that automatically puts you in a heavy amount of debt that you'll be even less likely than the average person to pay back, which the average able-bodied person, the average college graduate, is already very unlikely to ever pay back the debt that they incurred by attending college.
Yes, so the reason there's a catch-22 is because we as crippled brothers and sisters can't afford to pay for college, even less than able-bodied brothers and sisters. However, we also can't really afford the debt that college causes us to have.
Which then also, in our situations, usually higher education is one of the only ways that we can even get close
A job.
to getting a job because most of the jobs that we are able to do physically require college education. Which then also leads to some of the hurdles of just getting into school is discrimination, but then also there's this other part which more plays into the earlier years and talking about how crucial integration and a liberatory understanding of disability is in the early years is social stunting can occur where if we as educators as a society aren't cultivating a healthy environment where crippled brothers and sisters can grow as individuals, they won't be emotionally or ready mentally to handle a higher education environment.
I definitely saw this a lot at the University of Illinois because I lived in a dorm that was specifically for crippled brothers and sisters of all disability levels, and some of us were able to handle it emotionally, but there were quite a few of us who just could not handle the responsibilities of adulthood that college expects you to live up to.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for your average able-bodied brother and sister, but if you're thrown into like special education tracks, if you've been throughout your entire life ostracized and put into other environments and have been withheld by other people's perceptions and standards, that's going to be a heavy toll on a crippled brother or sister. And I mean, everyone struggles their first year of college. Some handle it better than others, but when you're dealing with a systemic misunderstanding and a discriminatory and ableist mindset that is prominent throughout society, crippled brothers and sisters are going to be subjected and withheld from a greater aspect of community and progressing adulthood.
Mm-hmm. I definitely struggled more than any other time in my academic career during my freshman year of college because I wasn't prepared academically to live up to the standards of a college education thanks to my high school.
And you weren't even put in a special education track, correct?
Yeah, I was not.
You just probably didn't have the best high school to begin with.
The high school I went to always ranks in the bottom of all state high schools.
And then, did you feel like there was a lack of facilitation to engage you in the classroom because of your disability?
I did because although it's a good thing in most aspects, when I went to college, they treated me like an able-bodied student, which is fine except for note-taking and things like that, which I could not keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that even in my small little, pastoral college, where the academics weren't really that heavy, just being at a clear disadvantage of not being able to take notes definitely held me back where I had to work really hard at cramming at tests, finishing assignments, and things like that. Just because, and like I said before, I didn't ask for this, but also it was never even thought of to offer these things to me. Now, think about this, is you were actually at one of the best universities in the country, and some would question the world for a crippled brother or sister, and they still lacked in a proper facilitation in helping you to use your abilities to the best of their potential to go after higher education.
Right.
And so that's what it really all sums down to, I think, in many ways, throughout all stages of education, is that we need to facilitate crippled brothers and sisters to engage that less focuses on them becoming able-bodied students or like able-bodied students, and more becoming the best student that they can be. And that's what we're finding in education, is that we can't so much do this one-size-fits-every person education, because it's showing that it fails over time.
Each person learns differently and has a different ceiling when it comes to academic education.
So I think that we're going to wrap things up for episode 12.
Yes.
Once again, thank you for watching, and we will be concluding our series on disability and education next week by, what are we talking about?
Discussing alternative education and going more in depth about the special education programs in America.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this one. I have a few friends in particular that were really excited about this particular episode, and so we'll be tackling that after I get back from LA.
Enjoy LA, my friend.
Absolutely. It's been about 11 or so years since actually longer than that. It's been about 15 years since I've been in Southern California. Looking forward to it. So if any of you are going to be in the LA area, you can hit me up on my personal blog, which is cjcampbell.tumblr.com, and you can also email the show personally with your stories, your suggestions, and anything else that you want to throw at us. That is cerebralconversations@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter.
Yes.
Which is @cerebralconvos. And you can always check out our Facebook page, which we're always having a lot of fun on. It's facebook.com/cerebralconversations. Where can they get hold of you, Ron?
At Ron Jackson on Facebook.
Look forward to being his friend. He's amazing.
Look forward to it.
All right, everybody. So until next time, keep it cerebral.
Peace.